Okay guys, so this is going to be the last video I'm going to do covering this year's 2018 Icast show. And judging by all the pictures and information and all the studying and research I've done, there seems to be a common trend this year amongst the companies. The first trend is there are several $99 reels that have been introduced at Icast, as far as at least bait casters go. The second is there's been a big focus on inshore bait casters. So yeah, that seems to be a trend this year. And also colors. And what I mean by colors is different colors. A lot of manufacturers have chosen to give us color options when it comes to certain bait casting reels and certain spinning reels. So yeah, let's start off with Garcia. Now, I've already done a video showing you the REVO Ike, the REVO Rocket, the REVO Beast, the REVO, I believe the ALF. But what Garcia has done this year at the show was they've announced the REVO X with color options. And as you can see by the pictures here, I'm not too sure about these color options. Basically, they've painted the frame and left the side plates black, and the options look to be some kind of a pastel blue seafoam, some kind of a pastel orange, red, and then a gray. And apparently they're giving you options as well as far as their spinning reels go. But yeah, that's that's the new thing from Garcia that I saw, other than the Ike and the Rocket, etc., etc. Okay guys, so the next company we're going to go over is 13 Fishing. Now, they didn't really have much as far as releases on the freshwater bass fishing side as far as reels go, but they did have a couple of releases for the inshore saltwater side that were noteworthy. And the first one we're going to go over is the Concept TXZ. Now basically this is building on their Concept TX reel. As you can see, it's got the seafoam side plates, but it's got a black aluminum frame. Well, I think the TX may have been all graphite. And this thing has got some interesting features. Now, because it has the Z at the end of the name, that means it's going to have CZB bushings. But the interesting thing about this reel is that they decided to also give it ball bearings. So this thing is going to have 5 black seal ball bearings, 2 CZB bushings, and here's something new, 2 CZB comp bushings. Now, doing the research on the CZB comp bushings, I found out that these bushings are supposed to have a smaller surface area where it contacts the spool, so theoretically giving you less friction and theoretically giving you longer casts. And there's really no pictures on these bushings on 13 Fishing's website or anywhere else. There's only really one picture that shows them, and judging by this picture, it may be that what they did was they beveled out the center portion of the bushing but kept the regular thickness on the outer diameter. So hopefully this might be able to fit other reels. Now, if they start selling these separately, I may pick up a pack to see what they're all about, but I'm assuming these CZB comp bushings are going to be on the spool. Now, speaking of spool shafts, they have 2 new marketing terms for I guess some kind of spool shaft tech that they've come out with: the KP Tech spool shaft and high spin spool shaft. I don't know what that means. Does it mean it's got a short spool shaft, or is the material a lighter weight material, or is there some kind of special coating on the spool shaft? Who knows? There's very limited information on it. Now, as you can also see, this thing has got the power knobs, big power knobs, but for some reason they kept the same flimsy looking drag star and flimsy looking handle. And also they've kept the ancient 6-pin or the 6-way adjustable brakes that all the 13 fishing reels have, and they want $330 for this thing. So it may be worth it for some of you guys, but for 330 bucks, you know, that's a lot to ask when there's a whole slew of new inshore reels that have come out, particularly the, you know, Shimano Tranx 200 coming in at only $199. So yeah, the 13 Fishing Concept TXZ. There we go. Now it looks like 13 Fishing is sticking with their CZB technology, and they're releasing a bigger, heavier duty version of the Concept Z called the Concept Z3. And as you can see by this picture, this is looks to be much bigger than the regular Concept Z, and it shows because this thing weighs almost 10 ounces, while the regular Concept Z came in at the low 6s, so a 3-ounce difference there. And because of this size, you're getting huge line capacity. You're getting over 100 yards more line capacity than the old model. It's got 240 yards of 12-pound test capacity, so that's huge. And it's going to have upgraded drag as well at 30 pounds. But other than that, I don't see anything else different with this Z3. It's got the same color. It's got the same flimsy drag star and handle that the Concept Z has. That's kind of an interesting choice for a reel that's supposed to be heavy duty. It's got the same outdated braking system. So hopefully next year 13 Fishing will have come out with a new braking system with external adjustments. Now this thing is going to cost $279. So $280 for essentially what is a beefed up Concept Z. Now unfortunately this does not have the CZB comp bushings like the TXZ does for some reason, and I don't know the reasoning behind that. But yeah, there we go, the 13 Fishing Concept Z3. Okay, so now on the rod side, 13 Fishing did come out with a new line of bass rods that were noteworthy, and these are the Envy Black 2s. As you can see by these pictures, these are some badass, slick looking rods, and they have a chrome reel seat with chrome accents, and it's just enough chrome to make it look classy, but not really too flashy or too gaudy, at least in my opinion. Now the thing about these rods is they feature what they call a 46-ton polyvector graphite. So I believe that's something like the carbon weave graphite that you'll see in a lot of higher end reels. And that little silver piece down at the bottom of the handle there, I believe that's what they call the snaggletooth bait keeper. So these were the only rods that I found interesting that came out from 13 Fishing at this year's Icast, and these things start off at 300 bucks. So that's a pretty high asking price, and it's got a lot of stiff competition at this price range. You're talking, you know, Megabass, Double X, a lot of G LOOMIS, Shimano X Prides are somewhere in this price range. I believe some Dobbins can be found in this price range. So I don't know if I'd spend $300 on this rod just for that chrome reel seat, but I'd have to see some reviews on this thing first, because I know 13 Fishing rods, they are reported to break easy, so I don't know what the warranty is on these things, but hopefully it's good when you're spending 300 bucks. But I really like them. If I can get a good deal on one, who knows, maybe I'll pick one up for my 13 not my 13, but my METANIUM MGL. That should look pretty badass. Okay, so next up is LEWS, and it looks like they've had quite a few releases this year at Icast. Now LEWS is a company that has like a reel at literally every $10 in price point, it seems. If you go on their section of Tackle Warehouse, they have like literally a ton of reels, and they're all priced within, you know, $10 of each other as they're going up. So let's start off with probably the most important reel in LEWS lineup, and that's the new Speed Spool LFS. And as you can see by this reel, it pretty much looks pretty much exactly like the old Speed Spool LFS, except for the all new frame and side plates. It's got the pointier frame, but it's got the same color spool, same color spool tension, and a handle, and it's got the same paddle knobs. Now it does have the same magnetic brake system. Now what's different about this besides the new body? I think they gave it a 95mm handle for all models, and I think the old one had something like either an 84 or 85mm handle, and so this got bumped up by 10mm. And it's got what they call a P2 super pinion that promises precise alignment and stability, resulting in smoother operation and extended gear life. And I'm reading that straight from Tackle Warehouse's page. So to me, could that mean that it's got two bearings supporting the pinion, kind of like Shimano's X-Ship? I don't know, because the bearing count is exactly the same at 10 bearings, 9 ball bearings and 1 roller bearing. So I'm not sure if that means it's got 2 bearings on the pinion, or maybe even 1. So I'd be interested to find out what this new P2 super pinion is all about. Now there's no information on it on LEWS website, there's no kind of pictures on it on Google or whatnot, but yeah, I'm going to be looking out for that. Now of course, once again, this is the year for inshore reels at Icast, and they've come out with the Speed Spool inshore model, and basically it's the Speed Spool LFS with blue accents, as you can see, the spool tension and the handle, and blue accents on the spool. Now it says it has a 34mm spool. So does that mean that the regular Speed Spool has a smaller spool, like maybe 32mm? Who knows? Now this thing costs $30 more than the regular Speed Spool, but it's made for saltwater and inshore use. So it weighs a little bit more. It's got less bearings for some reason, but as you can also see, it's got what they call the combat grips and thumb bar. So basically they've got that I guess that texture, or those raised dots, to help you grip the thumb bar and handles more. So yeah, that's what you're gonna get for your extra $30. And I'm sure they've got some saltwater protection in here. I believe maybe the bearings are made for saltwater versus the regular Speed Spool. Well, yeah, there we go, 2 brand new Speed Spool LFSs from LEWS. Okay, so continuing with the inshore trend, LEWS also have come out with a saltwater inshore reel called the LEWS Custom Inshore Speed Spool SLP series. So as you can see, this has the SLP frame, not the LFS frame, and the SLP frame is reserved for the higher end LEWS, like the Pro Mag TI, etc, etc. You get the picture. So let's go over the features on what you get. It looks like it's quite a lot. Now it's going to have an aluminum frame, of course, and it's going to have a carbon C45 side plates, brass gearing. Now interestingly enough, it's going to have a 32mm spool, so I guess you need a small spool to fit into the SLP or super low profile frame. Now this is going to have brass gears, dual cast control, centrifugal and magnetic. It's going to have 20 pounds of drag from carbon fiber drag washers. And of course you see it's got blue accents, the blue star drag spool tension, blue accents on the spool, and it's got the wind grips. They call them the wind dry track handle knobs in blue as well. Now it's got the combat grip pad on the thumb bar, and it's got the speed dial line indicator and hook keeper, as well as the external lube port. So that's a lot of reel here for the money. Now this thing, speaking of money, is going to go for $199.99, so 200 bucks, and that's going to put it in direct competition with Shimano's new Tranx 200. And yeah, it's a good looking little reel, blue and white color. I guess blue or sea foam is what all the manufacturers have decided to use for their saltwater inshore reels. So this one is for you inshore saltwater guys. Okay, so the next reel coming in at $119 from LEWS is the Mach 1. Now just looking at these specs versus the old Mach 1, it looks like it's just the same thing as the Speed Spool and the Tournament Pro. They've given it the new frame and body that's got the pointier look to it, and if I'm not mistaken, this thing is made of graphite. So that's an interesting choice at this price point when, you know, the LFS Speed Spool has an aluminum frame. Now I think what differentiates this from the Speed Spool, it's got the dual braking system, higher drag at 15 pounds, and this is going to have the combat style grips and thumb bar, and of course it's got the slick looking green accents. There's just enough green to make this thing look really nice and not too gaudy. And of course it's got that two-tone white and black frame and side plates. So this is a good looking reel. I wish it was made of aluminum, at least a frame at this price point. But yeah, the LEWS Mach 1 Speed Spool. Okay, so continuing with the inshore trend, LEWS also have come out with a saltwater inshore reel called the LEWS Custom Inshore Speed Spool SLP series. So as you can see, this has the SLP frame, not the LFS frame, and the SLP frame is reserved for the higher end LEWS, like the Pro Mag TI, etc, etc. You get the picture. So let's go over the features and what you get. It looks like it's quite a lot. Now it's going to have an aluminum frame, of course, and it's going to have a carbon C45 side plates, brass gearing. Now interestingly enough, it's going to have a 32mm spool, so I guess you need a small spool to fit into the SLP or super low profile frame. Now this is going to have brass gears, dual cast control, centrifugal and magnetic. It's going to have 20 pounds of drag from carbon fiber drag washers, and of course you see it's got blue accents, the blue star drag spool tension, blue accents on the spool, and it's got the wind grips. They call them the wind dry track handle knobs in blue as well. Now it's got the combat grip pad on the thumb bar, and it's got the speed dial line indicator and hook keeper, as well as the external lube port. So that's a lot of reel here for the money. Now this thing, speaking of money, is going to go for $199.99, so 200 bucks, and that's going to put it in direct competition with Shimano's new Tranx 200. And yeah, it's a good looking little reel, blue and white color. I guess blue or sea foam is what all the manufacturers have decided to use for their saltwater inshore reels. So this one is for you inshore saltwater guys. Okay, so the next reel from LEWS is what I believe is probably the replacement for the I think a popular LEWS reel, the Tournament Pro G, at the $199.99 price point, and that's the Tournament Pro LFS. Now there's not a lot of pictures on this reel out on the internet, so you're probably just gonna have to deal with this one picture that I have. Now let me go over what's new about this thing versus the old model. Now obviously it's got that new pointier frame and side plates, so basically a new body. It's sporting that P2 pinion. So hopefully that's a double bearing supported pinion gear. Maybe, maybe not. It's got a carbon fiber drag rated at 20 pounds. I believe it's got the new Quiet Cast ACV centrifugal brakes that the new BB1 Pro has. And it's also sporting the combat style grips and thumb bar, as you can see. So that should really help you out when it's raining, or if you're sweaty or whatnot. But yeah, the LEWS Tournament Pro LFS, I believe it is replacing the LEWS Tournament Pro G. Okay, so the next new reel from LEWS is a brand new LEWS Super Duty 300 LFS. Now let's go over the new things about this reel versus the old model. As you can see, this has a brand new frame and side plates versus the old model. It's got the older style LFS body, not the newer style that like the Speed Spool and Tournament Pro LFS has. Now of course it's going to be aluminum frame and graphite side plates. And what's new about this is that you can see it's got the new Wind power grips, the combat thumb bar with the extra traction there, or the extra grip on the thumb bar. Now it's gone from magnetic brakes all the way up to dual braking, so centrifugal and magnetic. Now the old reel was pretty wide, and they called it the Super Duty Wide Speed Spool. Now I think this one is going to be a little bit thinner, but it's got the same kind of the same line capacity, 14 pounds at 190 yards. So you're getting quite a lot for this new model, yet it retains the same price point at $199. Now what you're also getting is that they have a J specification for this Super Duty LFS, and the J model comes with the power knob, or power counterbalanced handle. So, and the other ones include the double power handle. So I'm not sure if you're going to get both with the J models. I don't think so. You're going to get either one or the other. But yeah, that's something of note. The LEWS Super Duty 300 LFS. Okay guys, so over at Quantum, they had a pretty big year at Icast this year, and the biggest thing over at Quantum was a whole new Icast lineup. And when I say lineup, I don't mean just bait casting reels. I mean spinning reels. I mean rods that have the Icast name. So let's talk about the bait caster real quick. Now, as you can see, the biggest change for the Icast bait caster is the styling or color scheme. It's no longer that polarizing, mixed match of red and black and white that kind of made it look like a bleeding zebra. They went with a more traditional all-around color for the front piece and side plates, while they gave the frame a matte black look, and I think it looks a ton better than the old model. And speaking of colors, they're going to give you a choice of 4 colors. It looks like white, green, blue, and a reddish orange. And they've also, looks like they've given it a new handle and knobs, which is a welcome upgrade, because the old handle and knobs, the handle was too short. I think it was only 80 millimeters, and the knobs were kind of like a hard rubber feel. It looks like these may get, I don't know if these are EVA or not, but it looks like the handle may be longer. Now it's going to keep the flipping bar for those of you who like to flip, but the biggest change to the Icast bait casters is the ACS cast control system. Now, so they ditched the dual braking of the old model and given it the ACS 3.0 externally adjustable centrifugal brakes. Now this is a big deal because these brakes are usually reserved for Quantum's upper end baitcasters like the Smokes and whatnot. So giving that brake system to their $99 reel may put this thing, you know, towards the head of the class when it comes to the all new $99 reels that have come out. But we're gonna have to wait till I get my hands on one to make that judgment. Now, speaking of which, they came out with the Quantum Accurist spinning reels that give you a choice of colors, and they also gave you a the Quantum Accurist rod line that gives you the choice of matching colors as well. So those of you who like to mix and match colors, then this may be the line for you, the Quantum Accurist. And they changed the name as well. It's called the Accurist S3 PT. So Quantum is really using that S3 marketing name for a lot of their reels now. Now, they've also released an inshore model. So Quantum pretty much did all three of the main trends that I noticed. They came out with a new $99 reel. They gave you multiple color options, and they came out with an inshore saltwater model. Now, the only difference I see on this is that they've given it blue accents, of course. And they've ditched the flipping bar, and they've given it corrosion protection in the form of corrosion-resistant ball bearings. Now, the inshore model is going to be a little bit more expensive at $120 instead of $100. But that is cheaper than Abu Garcia and LEWS inshore models. So yeah, once again, the Quantum Accurist series of rods and reels was the big news for Quantum this year at Icast. Okay, so moving up one level, Quantum has released the Quantum Energy S3 baitcasting reel. Now this is I think one step above the Accurist. It costs $120, and it looks to be pretty much 90% accurate with a couple of changes. So let's talk about those changes. As you can see, there's a different color scheme. It's got the black frame and front nose piece with silver side plates, and it's got green accents. Now, what's different is that this weighs a little less than the Accurist. This weighs actually a lot less. It's 7.1 ounces, while the Accurist is closer to 8 ounces. And it's going to give you more ball bearings. It's going to have 10 ball bearings plus 1 roller bearing. Now, according to Quantum, it's going to have the PT bearings, PT gear design, and PT speed bearings. So I guess the possibly the spool bearings may be upgraded, and it's got the Quantum hot sauce lubrication already out of the package, and it's got the micro adjust 3.0 cast control system, and of course it's got that flip and switch. So for an extra $20 you're getting more ball bearings and lighter weight, and I believe this has extra gear ratios available, 7.0 and 6.3, while the Accurist, I think, no, the Accurist came in 7.0 and 6.3 as well. But yeah, for an extra $20 you get a lighter reel that has more ball bearings and a different look to it, and it looks like it's going to have a different set of knobs as well. Once again, the Quantum Energy S3. Okay, so Quantum actually released some entry-level baitcasters as well that actually sit below the Accurist as far as price goes. Now, I don't know how many of you knew, but Quantum actually had a $50 baitcaster called the Pulse. I'm going to show you a picture of the old Pulse model. It was dark gray with a red handle, and of course at this price point you're looking at all graphite. So what I'm looking at here is the new Pulse model, and as you can see, it's a way different styling. It's got a two-tone red and black color. Now they have the same ball bearings, but the new one has, I think, new knobs, and I think they may be EVA. It's hard to tell, there's not very many pictures of it. And both of them have what they call the Dynamag magnetic cast control, and both of them have 5 ball bearings, and both of them have only one ratio at 6.6 to 1. Now the new one, I don't know if I like that styling versus the old one, but it did lose some weight over the old one. The old one weighed 8.1 ounces, while the new one lost about half an ounce. It weighs in at 7.6 ounces. So I don't know how they lost that weight, but yeah, it looks like it's gonna have a 90mm handle, and yeah, I'm looking here, it looks like the knobs are EVA, so that's an upgrade there for the Pulse over the old model. And this is once again $50. Now going up one level, they introduced the Quantum Throttle baitcaster, and this is coming in at $80. And basically this thing looks to be similar to the Pulse, but it's going to have extra ball bearings, 8 total. It's going to have 2 gear ratios, 7.3 and 6.6. And let me see here. And it's going to have the Dynamag magnetic system. Now, at $80, there's quite a bit of competition now, especially with DAIWA's RG baitcaster and their new C80 series. So that's going to be a tough sell for Quantum with this throttle casting reel. That does look pretty cool. You know, it's got the silver and black two-tone paint job. But at this price point, I'd probably be looking at DAIWA's RG. Okay, so there's Quantum's entry-level baitcasters that they released this year. Okay guys, so the last company I'm going to go over from this year's Icast is an underdog in the bass fishing industry, and it's a company that has sentimental value to me for personal reasons, and that is Okuma. And it looks like they've only released 2 reels this year that I could see, and the main one is the Okuma Helios SX low profile baitcaster. Now this is Okuma's new top of the line model, and it retails for $219, it looks like. And let me go over some of the characteristics of this thing. There's not very many pictures of it on the internet, but the couple that I have, you can see that it's got a very understated styling and colors to it. It's basically silver and black with some very few red accents, and that might be great for a lot of you guys that don't like flashy, loud colored reels, like let's say a Concept Z. So this thing is going to weigh 6.3 ounces. It's going to have 11 bearings, and it's going to come in 2 gear ratio, 6.6, 7.3. And the main thing that has me interested is the braking system. Now the old Helioses, or the current model Okumas that have the centrifugal brakes, have the exact same brakes as the some of the Quantums, the older Quantums, and the current 13 fishing lineup, where you have to open up the side plate and you have that wheel, and it's got, like, 0 to 7, so a total of 7 settings, and it was very limited in its adjustability. Now this new one, it says it has 12-point adjustable brakes. So I don't see any pictures of the palming side plates. I don't know if it's an adjustable from the outside braking system. It may be a magnetic system, who knows, but that's something I'm going to be looking at in the future. And the best thing about this reel, well, I shouldn't say the best thing, but something that Okuma has for a lot of its reels, it's that it comes with a 3-year warranty. Now most reels, I believe, come with a 1-year warranty, but Okuma gives you a full 3 years, so that's something to think about. So once again, the Okuma Helios SX. And the second baitcaster that Okuma came out with is the I guess a smaller version of the Okuma Komodo SS. So this Komodo series is made for big baits, saltwater, inshore use, swim baits, big line capacity, etc., etc. Now, as far as this newer model, I believe it is called the 273. That's kind of a weird number, but it looks like the line capacity is going to be a lot, I guess, a lot less than the bigger models. It's going to have 12 pounds of 160 yards of 12-pound test line capacity. It's going to weigh about 7.8 ounces and a total of 7 bearings. Now, I don't know if this is an accurate picture of it or not. It's the only one that I could find, but it looks like this is going to be somewhere in direct competition with like the new LEWS inshore, the Z3 from 13 Fishing, and of course Shimano's new Tranx 200. So yeah, once again, another saltwater inshore reel released at this year's Icast, the Okuma Komodo. Okay guys, so the last category I'm going to go over are the very interesting baits that were released at Icast. Now there's really only 3 or 4 baits that I saw that got me interested in actually wanting to spend my money on them, and the rest of them were kind of gimmicky. And I'm sure there were thousands and thousands of new baits released at Icast, but these are the ones that caught my eye and made me actually want to buy them. Now the first one is the Live Target, let's see here, hollow body crawfish jig. Now this won the best of show for the freshwater soft lure. And let me talk about this thing. Now Live Target makes some super realistic looking baits, and this one pretty much takes the cake. Now this looks just like a crawfish, from, you know, the little bumps on the body to the different coloring, you know, the gradation of coloring. Now it's got a jig skirt attached to it. I'm not sure that's even necessary, but the body is hollow, so it actually acts like a weed guard, but it's hollow, so when, you know, the fish bites into it, it'll compress and expose that hook. So that is badass. Look at this. Look at these look at these jigs. Now this makes me want to actually go out and try some more jig fishing. I need to up my jig fishing game. That's going to come in 3 different weights and sizes: 3/8 of an ounce, 1/2 ounce, and 3/4 of an ounce. So these are scheduled to be released way down the line in November 22. So let's hope that's just a speculation. Let's hope they get it released sooner than that. But it looks like this may take jig fishing to a whole new level, because, you know, jigs are supposed to imitate crawfish, but these look like a real crawfish. So yeah, Live Target hollow bodied crawfish jig, and they are only $9 to $10. So yeah, I am going to be eagerly waiting for these to be released, and I'm going to pick up a couple and try them out. Okay, so also coming from Live Target are a couple of baits that I'm really interested in buying once they come out, and they are the Skip Shad and the Twitch Minnow. Now there's not very many pictures or information on these lures, but from what you can see, these are some super realistic soft baits. One of them is supposed to be a fluke style bait, and if that's the case, it just may be the new standard in flukes. Now, if you fish Zoom super flukes, you'll know that it's basically a solid color piece of soft plastic that's got a split tail. That's really the only realistic feature about it, and it kind of resembles a bait fish, you know, as you twitch it through the water. Now these particular lures, you can see, are ultra realistic. You're looking at different gradation of colors, the scales, the fins, the gill plates, the eyes, and it's even got that shad dot on the top portion, as well as the the split tail. So wow, that's the only thing I can say about these things. If they have the action of a fluke, then it's pretty much game over. Now, and as far as the Twitch minnow, I don't really have many pictures of it, but it's supposed to be a fluke style bait as well, but something that you can actually fish on a drop shot. So it may be a little bit smaller than the skip shad, but I am definitely going to pick up some packs of these. As you can see, the different colors are so realistic, and you can really match the hatch with whatever kind of shad that's in your area. It looks like they got you covered. So once again, from Live Target, the skip shad and the Twitch minnow. Okay, so coming from my favorite bait company, JACKALL, they have two topwater lures of note. Now the first one I'm going to go over is the Riser Bait SP009, and this bait here is basically an evolution of the Riser Bait that came out a few months ago. I think they released it at the Bassmaster Classic, but it adds a new dimension. It adds a cupped lip, kind of like a popper. So this cup mouth is supposed to create this bubble trail as it skitters across the surface. I'm reading straight from Tackle Warehouse's website. So yeah, so it's gonna basically increase the utility of the Riser Bait series. It's gonna weigh in at a hefty 3/4 of an ounce, and it's gonna be 3 1/3 inches long. And as you can see, it's got JACKALL's impeccable paint job and attention to details. So it's very ultra realistic, and these are only coming in at $14.99. And the next lure is going to be the JACKALL Chop Cut. Now this is a lure that's been available in Japan for the past few months, and it's just now getting released here. Now this is going to be a $23 lure. It's going to weigh 3/4 of an ounce, and it's going to be 3 1/4 inches long. Now if you take a look at this thing and you see that big metal propeller, you might think, hey, this is just, you know, a different variation of a buzz bait where you just kind of burn it in and cause a lot of commotion. Now the video I saw, you can fish it like that and it will act like a buzz bait, but it's a lot more versatile than that. Now if you vary the retrieve up, if you do like a fast stop and go, it gives a little bit of a different action. And if you kind of just slow roll it in, this thing just kind of wallows around and makes a lot of different water sounds from what I saw in the video. And another feature on this is that it's giving the bass a different look. The hooks are on the side of the body, so when the bass is looking up, he's going to see the eyes, the gill plate, and whatnot. So it's giving the bass a little different look. So both of these lures are going to be available. It says August 14th, so the middle of August. And as you can see, the Chop Cut still has JACKALL's impeccable detailing and paint job finishes. So there we go. This is the last thing I'm going to cover at this year's Icast. Okay guys, so that wraps up this year's coverage of the 2018 Icast show, and it was a pretty big year for a lot of manufacturers, and I technically have the qualifications to attend Icast, it appears, because I am a lure review or tackle review channel on YouTube. So I may try to go to next year's Icast, you never know. I am more interested in going to the Japanese fishing shows that happen in February, but of course, being in Japan, it's going to take a lot of money to go out there. But you never know. So next year for 2019, I may try to go to Icast and give you guys some a lot better footage, some actual real video footage of me handling all the new products. So if you guys want to see me go to Icast next year, just let me know in the comments, and I'll see about getting it done. Okay, thanks a lot.